Tricia.
How are you? Are you feeling like a strong female lead today?
Not particularly. I feel like I'm at best supporting cast in my life at present. In my current COVID life. Yeah, definitely a best supporting actress nominee, but definitely not lead quality.
Got it. I mean, you are top billed in your own life. You do have agency. Yeah. You for sure impact the plot. So as long as we have that super low standard,
yeah,
you're strong.
I'm making moves, kind of. How are you today? You feeling like an SFL?
I'm a tired female lead.
Yeah.
Not feeling particularly strong right now. Only woke up about an hour and a half ago. Not sure why. Here I am.
Yeah, I went to bed at 10:30 last night, and I got up at like 7, like a normal day, and I felt like I didn't sleep at all. And so, yeah, I think that's a lot of where my supporting actor mentality is coming from. Like, I shouldn't be this tired. Maybe this is aging.
Or maybe it's COVID, because I tend to feel there's never enough sleep during this time. And especially like in the winter, that happens to me too, where I'm like, well, I can sleep 14 hours. Like I'm hibernating. I feel like there's a COVID hibernation that may be happening.
I wish I could sleep for 14 hours. That would be so nice. So nice. I usually sleep for like 5 and 6 hours at a time. Like, it's getting better though. Getting better. Doing all the things, the CBDs and melatonin and
you are
sprays and got it all. It just doesn't work. I think it actually helps in the length of time. Like if I attempt to sleep for 8 hours, I'll probably wake up like 40 times. CBD helps me stay asleep for longer between the periods of me waking up. So instead of like 40 times, I'll probably wake up like 10 to 15 times, which is improved sleep. So I'll give CBD that. But I think it's probably I should get a sleep study, like everyone recommends.
Why don't you just get your hands on some old-fashioned THC?
I don't know that it's going to work any better. Do you? Do people say that?
It did for me.
Yeah.
But I think when I used to smoke pot, it definitely worked. I think some of it was because it got me out of my head too. So it didn't just relax me. It just stopped the running thoughts.
Yeah.
And CBD never really did that for me. CBD kind of was more like a natural Xanax, which no shame. But my situation was thoughts. CBD didn't stop my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm like so glad for you that like rec sales are open again in Illinois. I was like, what a waste. What a wasted like money opportunity. And like, how dare you keep liquor stores open and close every dispensary?
Were dispensaries closed?
Well, they were closed for recreational sales. It was only medicinal sales. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Oh my God, then, I mean, you can easily you can for sure get a script from a doctor very easily.
Yeah, it's like, maybe I just need to get the sleep study done and then this will never happen to me again. She's chronic, what's the word? Insomnia.
I had a sleep study.
Yeah, how was it?
I didn't really learn that much. I don't know. It might have been 6-7 years ago. It's really uncomfortable. You're hooked up to 1,000 different things. It's not a normal sleep, so it's kind of interesting that it's based on that because there's nothing about that.
I was going to say, like, do they give you something?
No.
They don't give you anything? Well, that could just be an awake study for me.
Right. But they don't give you anything, right? Because they're trying to see, I think, in your natural state why you aren't sleeping, but it's much harder to fall asleep hooked up to 1,000 things with people watching you than it is in your normal state and environment. I think the finding was I was wondering if I like had a breathing thing or maybe I was snoring or I don't know why I ended up getting it, but they said I did do some like crazy leg kicks in the middle of my sleep that I didn't think woke me up, and they thought maybe it was related to my it is fascinating. Why don't you do it? Let me know so then I can watch.
Yeah, I'm like, is there no at-home sleep study kit that we can purchase, or can someone get on that as a business idea?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, but it's a free idea for you entrepreneurial spirits out there. Get on an at-home sleep study kit.
Actually, anyone who wants to conduct a sleep study on Tessa in particular.
Yes, please come to my home. I live at 40.
Not at your home, virtually. Oh my God.
Ew. That's super creepy.
It'll just
dial into the Zoom meeting of me sleeping.
Guys, we're ready for it. So we're talking to you out there, our super fan in California. Get this shit started. Do it. Well, welcome to Strong Female Lead, guys.
Yes, welcome to Strong Female Lead.
I'm Tessa. I mean, what is happening? I wanted to be like, this is Tessa, and instead I just embodied. I just felt like Tessa. My name's actually Tricia.
And this is Tessa, the real Tessa.
The real Tessa in real life. And what we do here on Strong Female Lead is we take a look at female leads in movies and television, and we ask ourselves, did Hollywood get this shit right? Is this a female lead that I like? Do I believe that she's strong? And we just sort of untangle all that mess that is representation of women in media.
Heck yeah. And what movie are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about Farewell with the almighty Awkwafina.
Awkwafina. She's amazing. Oh, I loved this movie. I love this movie.
It was nothing not to love about this movie. It was so well done.
I just love to see like traditionally like comedic actors like just like killing it at drama. I don't know why, but I always find that crossover to be like so like validating. I'm like, yeah, we can do emotions. we could do real life stuff. Not everything's like a joke and a game. And I always think that comedians kill it in a particular way. Like we really like harness sadness, usually for comedy, but like sometimes we can like stick in it. So I was proud of her.
I totally agree. I feel like comedians are much more likely to be able to embrace dramatic roles than vice versa. And I think comedy is harder. And the type of emotion you have to access to be able to do that, I think a lot of comedians end up having that full range, whereas dramatic actors just aren't necessarily funny. I just think comedy is tougher to reach.
Yeah, and I think comedy is like riskier, like in the characters that, you know, outside of like film, like just the characters that you're inventing in your head, like in improv, you're inventing these characters in your head and putting them on stage in the moment. And so like, if it's not perfect, like you have to, you know, improvise yourself out of a box sometimes. You're like, what did I just do? Or what did I just create on stage? And like, let's legitimize the actions that we just took, that I just took. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So just a brief synopsis. The Farewell is a 2019 American comedy drama. So I did think it was actually really funny, but not in those laugh out loud funny ways. But it was written and directed by Lulu Len. And it is based off of her real life story. And it was taken from her This American Life episode. So she did an episode of that fucking amazing show, and it was called What You Don't Know. So she discussed it on This American Life, and then she ended up writing a screenplay. And it's won some awards. Let's see, what did it win? I guess the movie itself didn't win an award, but it did. It was nominated at the 77th Golden Globes for Best Foreign Language Film, and then Awkwafina won for Best Actress,
Yay.
which is fucking amazing. But so the brief synopsis is this is about a Chinese American family, and they learn that their grandma, they affectionately call Nai Nai, that she has been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer and she only has a short time to live. So what they do is they decide to coordinate a wedding of like for one of the, I guess, grandsons of the grandmother, and they say, we're gonna have a wedding, and it's all basically an excuse to go to China and to be able to say goodbye to her. And this follows Awkwafina's story. She is a writer in New York. Her name's Billy, and she's more modern, right, and less traditional than her family in China. And this really, the conflict is between the cultural concept of, I think it's collectivism, where they basically take on the pain of the grandmother. They don't tell a family member that they're going to die. They mourn the person being sick, and the person being sick has no idea what's going on. So in a way, they're shouldering the burden. And Billy has an issue with that as a modern millennial, and having lived in America a long time, she thinks that the grandmother deserves to know. So there's just this, it's just this dynamic between those two beliefs and how they go forward. And Awkwafina's character ends up going to China, even though she's not invited, because they don't think that she'll be able to keep the secret. And she goes and she does what her family wants. And it's just, I mean, it's just so good.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that the overarching conflict between Billy's character being more modern and her family's traditional values, like that same conflict plays out in like every character, but they react so differently. The father and his brother, who's Japanese, and so they have different immigrant experiences, but both kind of resting or coming back to the conclusion that like we're going to do this traditional thing, even though you can tell in like every character, like it's hitting them differently, that they're concealing the truth from Nai Nai. And I think that Billy's such an interesting character, because when we meet her, she's like just gotten the letter that says she didn't get into whatever fellowship she was applying for. So we kind of have a sense of her like failing at what it is, colloquially the American dream. She's like not achieving what people, her family, expectations say that she should be achieving. So that's another just in my mind, another inference of the same like modern, hey, I get to fail. This is America, kind of a land of second chances. Like if my first career path didn't work out, it's, more than acceptable to try something else, and then having that be not as supported in her traditional background. You should be doing A, B, C, and D. Why aren't you doing A, B, C, and D? Why aren't you married? Why don't you play piano? Why don't you blah, blah, whatever else things that her family expects for her to do. And then the added burden of having the immigrant experience where your family's pretty much saying, we did all this for you. And so that you could achieve, and why aren't you achieving? And I think it's interesting because while looking at this as like that not being my experience in the United States, but just seeing, like, I really like found Billy's mother's very interesting. I just have a thing for mothers right now. I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. In the last one, I was like, moms, they're so weird. But I just think it's really interesting that like my first time I watched it, I think I judged the mother character a little harshly, and as if she was always just saying to Billy, like, get it together, you're pseudo disappointing everyone. But the second time I watched it, I got a little bit of a different vibe from her, which felt like more protective, more like traditional motherly. She's like, I want you to do these things because we want you to be happy, and we don't know how to support you if you're not talking to us, and that type of thing. Which is funny because they're not talking to her about Nine for a while. And you get that weird joke at the beginning, trying to ease people into bad news. And I was like, the opening scene was just perfect. I was like, oh, this joke is giving you the movie in a joke. So that was perfect too. But yeah, sorry, monologuing.
No, I love it. I felt the same way. There were so many different things operating within these characters that had not only to do with them being female characters, but a lot of it had to do with a clashing of cultures and the Awkwafina's role as the young Chinese American woman who doesn't agree with all of the traditional cultural pieces, and because they don't promote individualism, which is what she's learned in the U.S. And I really, really, I have a lot of compassion for both sides when a family immigrates to the U.S., that they have this idea of what will make their son or daughter happy, and they think that they're giving them all these opportunities, but then there's this pressure to live up to whatever it is they've defined as happiness.
And sacrifice, to honor the sacrifice that they've, the sacrifice and initial investment that they've made in order to get us here. For, especially if you choose a career in the arts, like that's so hard.
And we saw this in Crazy Rich Asians also, in terms of the sacrifice for the family. It's not all about you. And so we do, I think that individualism versus collectivism is super interesting. And the primary female characters that we see are Awkwafina, who is, her character is Billy Wang. Then her father is played by an actor named Chai Ma. And then her mother is Diana Lin. And I think her character's name is Lu John. Please help me, okay? And I apologize. And then the grandmother, Nai Nai, is played by Zhao Shuzhen. And she is a really, really sought after actress in China, and basically had to be begged to play this role. So I think the primary ones are really Nai Nai and Billy, if I had to talk about the female leads in this. And while I was watching, I was thinking about femininity, what is the writer, what is the storyteller telling us about masculinity, femininity, and the strengths of the female leads. And we really got to take a look at the matriarch of a family, who really runs the show. And then there was also something that was so nurturing about her too. That's what was great about these characters, is I think that whatever made them who they were was what led them down the path of this story. Nai Nai was only Nai Nai, and she was she was in command of her own presence, of her own family. She showed her love. She was outspoken, and Billy is very independent, and but also very, very emotional. And you can see just the connection between her and her grandma. And I just really wasn't getting any sort of message necessarily about femininity and masculinity. I was just getting a story. That's how it felt to me, that the characters were just true to themselves, whatever they were. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it was, for me, it was interesting because I think like the tale of femininity and masculinity is also wrapped up in the same ideas of individual identity and the collective identity. I think the only characters that I see like with kind of like overly feminine like visuals is the Japanese fiance. She's the only one who like presents as like super femme. Everyone else, especially Billy, like I'm in the weeds with this, but like her clothing choices, I always thought was interesting because she's so fiercely independent, but she's wearing like very modern clothes. Like, you'd see anybody wearing what she was wearing, but like I felt like she, in terms of like her physique, was lost in her clothes, and I must think that is intentional. And that that like pieces of her are hiding, and I'm like, maybe that is like a tie to like her experience having to kind of go it alone. Like, her parents are working parents, and so she's like, in school and living life on her own, and like I'm assuming that big ass house that her parents live in was not also in New York, because that doesn't make sense. But for them to be struggling for money and live in a mansion, and then but I don't know, everyone, do you. But it seemed like she had gone away, like maybe like upstate New York or something, and then gone into the city. But yeah, I thought that she was as fiercely as individual as she's fiercely individual, but also like creating space between her and the world around her. I thought Nine Eye was interesting. Because I'm like, there must be, some sort of like comfort in that collective mentality. And I don't think it's just because she was the matriarch of the family that she had that comfort and ease with saying exactly what she wants and articulating herself exactly, the way that she would like to be heard and seen. But I just think that that's so interesting, juxtaposed against Billy, who has the individual freedom to say anything she wants to anyone she wants, to do whatever she wants, but she's hiding. And Nine Eye has the collective experience, and she's more able to say exactly what she wants. And I'm like, I wonder if that is more closely tied than I really realized during the watching of the film. I was like, maybe it is just more comforting, and you're able to express a different side of your individuality when you're a part of such a tight-knit community where everyone kind of has your back. Like, and like that must be, I mean, I have a sort of a big family, and like I do get a similar amount of support from my family, but I thought that was very interesting. But those are my only takeaways in terms of like masculinity and femininity. Would be those.
So do you think collectivism is more of a feminine concept? I don't think so, but maybe it could be because of the support and the nurturing. And like Nine Eye,
maybe the expression. Yeah, I think why I really like this expression might be because there's a matriarch at the head of the family. I might feel differently if it was a domineering male figure. I wonder if you'd have the same opportunities for self-expression. Like, would Nine Eye act in the same way, very bold, speaking out of turn, quote unquote? The way she interacts with her like longtime boyfriend roommate, I thought was interesting.
She could not be bothered. She's just like, she's a body and he's around. And like, she did not seem at all concerned, which.
Exactly. She's definitely, queen of that family. And I'm like, I wonder if, maybe I would feel differently if it was a male patriarch. I wonder if how the movie would be different.
Yeah.
Or my opinion would just be different. I would maybe be more critical of that character. So,
I love
addressing my own bias, examining my own bias. Maybe there is one.
I love what you said about her being able to fully embody herself as a person with that very tight-knit group to sort of catch her if she falls. She knows she can say anything and will still be loved. And she's not mean in any way. It's just apparent that she just truly is just very direct. And is respected. And I do think maybe there's more of a fear of doing that when you don't have that type of community behind you.
Yeah.
And I also think it's fascinating with having a matriarch, but in China, you know, the role of the woman is much more traditional. So there's strength in the matriarch, even though she is more of a traditional caregiving role.
Yeah.
And it's something I've noticed in relationships I've had with individuals that didn't, or that their parents fell into more of a traditional role. I was in a relationship with an Afghan American guy. I'm sure I've brought him up before. And the family, the women were empowered by their ownership and management of the household. It wasn't questioned. It was their sphere, and there was power in it. But then at the same time, you know, it was very traditional. But they were more empowered than some women I see that don't have that traditional role. So it's just kind of very fascinating to me that, like, it's not necessarily good or bad, but where is your power? And what does that look like?
I think that there's power in the understanding that we were all playing our role. And I think that also plays a lot to how Nai Nai is able to move throughout her family, is that she's respected universally as the matriarch of the family. I think if ever that was questioned, which I think happens in more individualistic cultures where it's like, I'm the head of my family, I think that is kind of a recipe for conflict. And I also think that like traditional understanding of everyone's role plays into why Billy, though she is individualistic, in my mind, she is hiding. And she's literally hiding things from her family. But like, because her parents are traditional and she doesn't want to be as traditional as they would like her to be, I think that that's a conflict also. Why she has to remove herself. And why they hesitate to tell her things, because she doesn't react the way that, you know, other people react to these things. Everyone else seemed to have like kind of this is what we're doing, like we're all falling in line. Like, and I also wondered, I'm like, how common is this as a practice? And then come to find out that it's like relatively common and not specific to Chinese culture at all. This happens in a lot of cultures where a family would carry the burden, as they put it, for someone else. And I was like, I don't know if I would want that. I kind of think it's a nice idea.
I think it's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, there's the idea between a good lie and a bad lie. And I think we get very stuck, at least I do, in, you know, it's very binary. Like, lies aren't good. Telling lies is bad. But I don't think it's black and white like that. I do think that there are certain truths where it makes sense to hold on to, because getting them out has more to do with the person telling the statement, you know, or telling the truth. And the other person, while they may say, like I could say, I want the truth no matter what, how do I know that I do when actually given a certain truth? You know, and then the gold rule comes into play. How would you want to be treated? But I don't think it's necessarily the right answer always to treat someone how you would want to be treated. Let's say you would rather know the truth if you were dying. I don't think that necessarily equates to you telling someone else the truth. Does that make sense? It just, I don't think it lines up the way that I used to think, because we are so complex as humans. Yeah. And I love this exploration of that. I think it's beautiful. It was really funny when they were like making up the medical records, and the sister, little Nai Nai, she put something together like benign shadows, which totally cracked me up. I'm like, that is awesome. I would like a diagnosis of benign shadows. It's just
it sounds like it. Yeah, okay.
It was so, and then there were funny parts of it, right? Like the cousin. So I thought that they were forcing the cousin and his girlfriend to get married and they weren't already married. But I think in the real story, they were already married. But they had them come over and have a celebration. I like the idea more of just being like, you just actually need to get married. You need to formally get married right now so we can do this. Like, talk about sacrifice and for like the greater good. It's hilarious.
Well, yeah, I'm like, you could just hire an actor just to have a wedding. Like, it doesn't have to be real.
Why? Yeah.
That was my thing, and I was like, if they don't want to get married, why don't they just hire someone? Because I was like, if someone came to me with that, if someone came to me with that type of proposition, like, I mean, I guess how do you say no to that? Like, someone tells you that their grandma's dying, can we get married so that we can have a celebration and, you know, so she could be a part of it? And I was like, how do you say no to that? Never mind.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And I did really feel for the girl because if in the story, as they were telling it in the movie, she was not already married to this man, does not speak Chinese. She is truly just there as this blow up bride doll.
Yeah.
Who, like, is just being ushered around, and like I just was like, good God, this is terrible.
The wedding montage, I was like, this is genius. Why don't we have this in the United States? Like just like awesome. Venue like this that's like constantly like in motion, like, or maybe they do exist and I just don't know about it because I'm not getting married. But I was like, this is amazing. You just like literally like go room to room and just pick a wedding. This is awesome.
I know.
Why don't we have that? I want that. I would like.
Well, there are venues where there are multiple weddings going on at a time because I've attended them. I've been at a wedding in a reception area and then I just walked over to the other one. Got myself a small plate.
But like, oh man, I just want like all the props to be there. Like, I want to walk in on a Saturday with my fiance and just be like, I feel like today's the day. It's a good number on the calendar. Let's just do it today. And then we just walk into like the mermaid room and we're like, ooh, an under the sea wedding, maybe. Or like the Titanic room where we're like, yeah, we're the last ones on the ship. We're going down with the ship. Or like just another, just like a carousel of like wedding venues with photographers. And we were like, we did it. We got married. We, you know, and it cost us like $1,000 instead of $1 million, which it seems like weddings cost.
Right. And do you wonder, like, so we find out later that Nai lives, or at least what we find out is the real Nai lives. It's kind of interesting because at the end, it's a little unclear whether the character of Nai died. I think she was still alive, but they don't say it specifically. They just roll over into the real Nai. And they show her and she's still kicking, which I think is also very interesting because the real Nai doesn't even know that this movie was about her. So like an interview with Lulu Lang talked about how they wanted to actually film in Nai's house, but then it would have been a little too much and she might figure out what was going on. But the cast and crew were ordered to not tell her that this was an actual story about her, that it was based off of her. So she would like jump in. They filmed some scenes in China. She'd jump in and would bring snacks and give people massages and became like the grandma of the set and still didn't know that this was about her, like keeping up the lie into the retelling of the story. It's just so very, very humorous to me. And I admire the commitment.
Oh, 100%. I'm trying, and I'm like going back to like our question of like, would I want to know? And I think it would just depend like where I was and what the diagnosis was. Like if it was like, if I was like, had lived a life, like was like an older, like, you know, in my 60s and 70s and I have like terminal whatever, I don't know how my kids would know and I not know. Then I'm like, fine, don't tell me, just let me live my days as they are. Like, you know, I've got like fantastic memories to like rest my head with, and like I think I've done and said everything that I needed to say to whomever. Yeah, I would totally go along with the plot of The Farewell and just be like, don't tell me, let's have like a big like barbecue and invite me, and I'll just like, smile and laugh and commiserate with my friends and family. Like that's to me a perfect exit. If it was today, like then I'd be like, no, you should tell me. I've got money to blow on experiences and once in a lifetime things. I need you to tell me.
Right, and that was the difference with her
Yeah.
as the matriarch. Is I think that was what Awkwafina's character was struggling with. Is like, what if she has stuff she wants to do, and little Nine and everyone else was like, she doesn't, and they're sort of making that decision for her, and that's the part that's hard, and that's where my independence like just rages. Is I'm like, I don't like things being decided for me, but I don't know. I don't know. There's no right or wrong with this. It was cool. And I think also the scene where we see Billy talk to her mom and realize that there's parts of the culture her mom hates also, like the crying at funerals and the hired criers.
God.
And I thought that was really fascinating too, because there's pieces she doesn't like. And in the This American Life episode she's interviewed, she's like, I hate that. I didn't
know that was a real thing. My friend Sandy, and I saw this movie as like a sneak preview. I got like free tickets to see it early. My friend Sandy was telling me like, yeah, that's a real thing, that like you can hire people to like as mourners. And I was like, hey, that is, again, genius.
And so crazy.
Mourners. Yeah, I don't like who
You're
wants
supposed to freak out.
Yeah, I want my funeral to be well attended. So just in case, I will hire people.
You need to YouTube hired criers, because there's situations, especially if there's like a political figure or someone who dies, they'll have kids wailing, like children wailing, like, and it's like I don't even think they can access pain like that. And they just are wailing, and it shows, it's a show of respect, but it doesn't feel very authentic. And it's interesting that they're trying to hide the emotion for so long until the person dies, and then it's just a free-for-all, and it's just like the crying machines. You need to YouTube that shit. It is kind of disturbing to me, actually. So I do understand the mother.
It's weird that a parent would allow their child to do that, to be a crisis crier. But
we don't want to disrespect the culture, but it is, you're allowed to dislike pieces. It was nice to see the mom be like, like, that's terrible.
Yeah, and I like the conversation that was happening with the extended family, talking about like kind of judging the Billy's family for going to the United States and like, not being like exorbitantly like wealthy and like well-to-do. I thought that was interesting.
For sure. And her struggle with wishing she might have been still been in China, right? And that's really fascinating, because you wouldn't think a woman who came over to the States would still be considering, wow, my life may have been better if I would have stayed over there. But it seems like what she's learned via the concept of individualism in the US, it seems like she sort of wants to harken back to the collective and have that kind of support. And I think there's it's just, she didn't have the choice, right? And I love the respect Nai has for her, though. Like, it just reminds me of my own grandma. There might be a different relationship between the matriarch and her actual children, but with the grandchild, like, it was also my experience that my grandmother fostered my independence, and she wanted me to do these things, and she never tried to take me down, whereas her relationship with my mother may have been a little bit different. And I just love that, like, something about the skip in the generation, then there's just like this enough distance, maybe because they're not raising you, but maybe, I don't know. There's just something.
I think grandparents are always the fun ones. Well, unless, I think grandparents provide that very nice balancing act to like being able to communicate with authority and obeying authority. I think that's
because they don't have it's not their responsibility how you end up, like, in a sense. It is
a reflection of them.
Sure, but they don't have the pressure of
they're not like directly supporting you usually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And dealing with like your detentions or anything like that. Parents or grandparents are great. If I could be anything, it probably would be a grandparent. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, can I skip that? Can I not
Yeah.
have a kid and then become a grandparent? I
would love that. I was like, is there an age
sign
requirement?
up for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to be a grandma right now.
Right? It'd be super fun. I got money to blow on kids.
Yeah.
And doing kid things. I was like, kid things are kind of fun.
Kid things are totally fun. Okay, so did you think that this reinforced, we didn't really see patriarchy, right? We didn't see like a traditional role with the husband or with Billy's mom and her dad. You know, we didn't really see that play out and what their marriage looks like. This was all about Nai Nai. So I didn't really see anything that reinforced any patriarchal standards. It seemed like it was a family going through something.
Yeah, I don't. No. I'm like patriarchal standards.
Yeah, like I didn't see any stereotypes being reinforced. I didn't feel like these women didn't have a say. I didn't. I think they all were, except for the poor fiance, all acting with their own agency, you know. And I think that they definitely meet our standards for strong female lead. But in doing that, they're not reinforcing any patriarchal standards. Like Nai Nai didn't die, apparently. So being outspoken and being your true self didn't result in death. The same as Awkwafina, she didn't get punished for it. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess I agree, but I think because the world is so focused on this story, I think like even if you took one step outside of the world of the story, then I think we would see more of the patriarchy. I was thinking of that experience that Billy had with like the hotel guy, and I was like, was that weird? Is that just me?
Yeah.
Billy definitely has her own agency, which I appreciate through the whole film. If she doesn't want to do something, she's not doing it. When she wants to do something, she's going to do it, and she's going to push along the plot of this story by her making her own independent choices. So yeah, I don't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I would agree. There's no like strong patriarchal overtones to this movie. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Now I'm looking up. Did they pass the Bechdel test? I'm assuming they did because there was a lot of talk about just life.
Yeah, and it's about Nai Nai. So,
right
when she's talking to her mom and when her yeah, I think the mom is the only one who ever. Well, no, Billy speaks directly to her father. Never mind.
We see the conversations between the mom and Billy and Billy and Nai. Oh, sorry, you froze. So I didn't know you.
No worries. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. I think they do pass it. I can't think of specific scenes, but there's conversations between the mom and Billy and then Nai Nai and Billy.
Right.
That are definitely not about a guy because Awkwafina does not bring up anything about a man in this. We don't know if she's in any sort of relationship. It just is not, it's not brought up.
Yeah, I think the only, I'm thinking like Nai Nai said, like, I don't want you to be alone or something like that. Or you're all alone in New York or something to that effect. So I think she was a single woman.
Mm-hmm. Well, shit, what would you rate this?
I love this movie. I would give it 4 out of 5. Yeah, 4 out of 5. First class flights to China. 4 out of 5. First class flights to China. You know, spend it all. If you're gonna go big.
Go big. I would give this. Flight. Yeah, how long is the flight?
Oh, I'm imagining it's like the same to London, like at least 11 hours.
Like 40 days. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I would rate this high also. I almost want to give it a 5 out of 5, but I like to reserve those because there's always something better.
Yeah.
So
I
I
love
would say
this.
4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
4.5 out of 5 hired criers. For sure.
One child crier.
Yeah, yeah. It was so good. It was a breath of fresh air. And the fact that she didn't die, which is very interesting, almost seems to promote the idea that if you know you're sick, you're more likely to die. And then we also learned that Nai Nai did the same thing with her husband and only told him at the very end. So I sort of wondered if Nai Nai just knew this whole time. But now I don't think she does, but maybe she did and she still hasn't admitted to it. I don't know. I feel like she's one step ahead of everyone, no matter what.
Yeah. I think the same. I think that she's playing along. At some points, it seemed like she's just playing along. Like, it's convenient that this wedding is happening. I did want to see everyone, but I also, I can feel that my lungs are working a little differently. I think she
did her exercises. Ha!
Yeah.
And
it's very good exercise.
I'm telling you, old people know what they're fucking talking about with that stuff. I would listen to a podcast once with a guy, and he might have been in his 80s, and he was being interviewed. I think he was like a former FBI agent or something, but he was talking about the exercises he does when he wakes up. And truly, they're just moving. It's like, move your right arm up and down 10 times, move your left arm. Like, they're not complicated, they're not sophisticated, they're just getting the blood moving, and I feel like they're onto something.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like when people
kick your leg 5 times in that direction, walk in the circle, 5 circles. Like, I mean, I'm just like, yes, guys, why are we paying so much money for our gym membership?
Oh, God. So true. Especially when you can't use them because of COVID.
I know, fuck COVID.
Rude.
So, guys, we want to hear what you think about this movie. It's lovely. This was fun. I enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking about it, watching it. Highly, highly recommend. I think it's on Hulu. I think it's the only place I've been able to, well, I'm sure if you have the other channels, but Hulu, or no, Amazon Prime. It's Amazon Prime. It's free on Amazon Prime, so go ahead and, not Netflix, Amazon and chill with a friend. Bring some Kleenex. I was real good until towards the end, and I was like, okay, you got me, farewell.
I know. I cried also at the end. It was just, and then you were like, whoa, surprise, you're alive, yay! And then I cried more. I cried out of confusion at that part. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Why'd you do this to me? Well, you guys can find us on social media, per usual. We are on Instagram at Strong Female Pod.
Yeah, and you can tweet at us your recommendations if you want us to review something. We're SFL_Chicago on Twitter.
And rate, review, and subscribe. Guys, we need more ratings.
Yeah, rate us on Apple Podcasts. If you listen on Stitcher or on Spotify, give us a like there. Give us a follow. It matters to us that we can reach you where you are. So we got to know where you're listening. So like us, review, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Do it, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for me. How about you?
Yeah. Do we want to tell them what we're going to do for next week and get a little bit of a head start? Because this one might take you a while to get through because it's good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So we will be doing I May Destroy You. I
just want a grenade to go off, like boom, like drop the mic. The show is amazing.
Holy shit. Michaela Cole, if you don't know who she is otherworldly. And we're going to be talking about the series on HBO called I May Destroy You, and it hits every nerve. And it explores intersectionality, being a woman, being an African American woman, then it touches on just being a woman today and consent and sexual assault. And holy shit, it's super tight. It reminds me a bit of Fleabag in that sense, although it's totally different. But it just kind of, I think it's just going to be this one season, like a limited series is my guess. I don't know, maybe not. But holy fucking shit, guys. Watch it.
Yeah. Watch it. It will, I mean, yeah, it will, it's tense. It's taken me like, normally I can binge watch most things. This took me a couple, I have to break it up in segments, and luckily it's still premiering new episodes, so you've got time to catch up before we drop our episode. But yeah, we have so many thoughts. It's amazing. And if you liked chewing gum, you'll love this. It's just, yeah, it's very similar in terms of wit and funny, like chewing gum, but it's also touching on some very adult subject matter. I'm just going to keep using adult just to catch all for
adult means sex and drugs. Yeah, adult really means sex and drugs, but damn, is this beautifully shot. And you know, our recording may come out before the very last episode. We couldn't even help ourselves. We just wanted to start.
Yeah.
So just
every time we bring it up, every time one of us brings it up, we just talk about it for 30 minutes, and we're like, we should probably record.
We need to. So we're going to stop right now. Actually, we are going to stop, and then we're going to think more about I May Destroy You. We're going to think about how you need to watch it and do that, because that's the next show we're talking about.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. The Farewell was great, a great tearjerker, but this is a call to action. I May Destroy You. It's fucking phenomenal. It is a
fucking call to action. That is a great, makes me want to run.
Yeah.
I don't know where.
Right?
It makes me want to get moving.
Yeah. If there's an I May Destroy You playlist, tag me in it. I need that shit. I need to know what's happening. And yeah, I don't think I've ever been more motivated to do anything.
All right, we love you guys. Until next time.
Yes, bye.
Bye.